what Mercedes secretly did to Fernando Alonso. So we're gonna be going through that and 5 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel hitting that red button down below. The first story is rumor emerges that Mercedes snitched on Fernando Alonso to FIA stewards at F1 Saudi Arabian GP. Mercedes complained about Fernando Alonso to the F1 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix stewards to get the Aston Martin driver penalized. According to a paddock rumor revealed by Sky's Ted Kravitz, Alonso finished third on the road in Jeddah but was demoted to fourth after his team were deemed to have worked on his car while he was serving a 5-second penalty during his pit stop. But the stewards overturned their decision and reinstated Alonso's podium after Aston Martin successfully argued there were previous examples of drivers not being penalized in similar situations. The U-turn raised question marks over why it had taken the FIA so long to investigate an incident that occurred relatively early in the race. With 2 laps remaining, Mercedes' George Russell was told there could be another penalty on the way for Alonso despite no official investigation being launched. Is he getting the penalty or not? Russell responded, "I am pushing like a madman at the minute." Russell was the main beneficiary of Alonso's second-time penalty, as it briefly promoted the Briton into third, before the decision was then reversed. In an intriguing development, a rumor in the paddock suggests Mercedes were the team who reported Alonso to the stewards, according to Sky Sports F1 pit lane reporter Kravitz. He got a penalty, but when you serve a penalty, you are not allowed to do any work on the car, Kravitz said. The remote operations center had seen whether the guy at the back holding the rear jack had actually touched the car before the 5-second penalty was served. At the time, they had decided that there was no real hard place to go with Aston Martin, that he hadn't touched the car, and even if he had, it was okay. But then later on, another team that had something to gain, the rumor is Mercedes, but that is unconfirmed, complained and said, "We think you need to take a further look at this because the Sporting Advisory Committee had said maybe you can't touch the back of the car with the rear jack." At the end, Aston Martin said no, the SAC had never said that you can't touch the car with the jack. It is just you can't do any meaningful work on it, and there had been lots of other instances where teams had touched the car with the jack. So, that in the end meant Alonso was confirmed in his third place. It is a difficult question because the previous race for Esteban Ocon, a team member, had touched the car within the 5-second penalty period, and he had been given a 10-second penalty for the team member doing that. So, there is a little bit of inconsistency, but Aston Martin were able to show that the minutes of the SAC had shown it doesn't count if you attach a jack. In a sporting way, it is a little thing. It didn't affect the outcome in a sporting sense. Alonso didn't gain any time by a team member attaching a jack to the back of his car, so I think on balance, in a sporting way, it was the right thing to do to confirm his third-place finish. The second story is how Mercedes are escaping dead-end street with W14. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff says he is optimistic that his team are gradually understanding the troublesome W14, rejecting the notion that the Silver Arrows are seeking to take inspiration from other teams' designs. The Brackley-based squad kept faith with their Zero sidepod design from 2022, but it quickly became apparent that the car remained some way off the pace-setting Red Bulls, and Wolff took the unusual step of admitting even before the Bahrain Grand Prix that Mercedes would look to change the concept of the W14. Speaking after George Russell and Lewis Hamilton finished 4th and 5th in Jeddah, Wolff said Mercedes were slowly understanding more about their 2023 challenger. "If you look at the Red Bulls, they're just so quick," Wolff told Sky Sports F1. "I think we understand the car more. I'm looking optimistic to the future because we just need to put it in a different window. We are changing the bodywork of the car, how the floor works, all of these things. Mechanically, we're looking at certain areas, and the team in Brackley is just flat out." Wolff added that Mercedes had come to realize that their current concept had no prospect of being successful and that the team had decided to cut their losses on it. "We headed into one direction last year and we wanted to make it work, and it worked and it got better and better," said Wolff. "But now, we really realized it's a dead-end street. These are the facts and everybody knows that now. So we turned around and we're running fast out of that dead-end street." The Austrian also rejected the notion that Mercedes would look to take inspiration from Red Bull or Aston Martin, both of whose cars have proven quicker than Mercedes so far in 2023. "I don't know you can call it a Red Bull or Aston Martin concept," Wolff added. "If it looked like an English double-decker bus, we would do it if it was fast." put a little Red Bull sticker if they want to put it on. It's just about pure performance. We have no dogma on who invented it. The third story is best team boss Toto Wolff back to turn the tables amid desperate times for Mercedes F1. The Mercedes team is currently in the worst position of its F1 career span, with no possible answer to their troubles. Dropping down to such lows after being on top for 8 consecutive seasons is a difficult situation to cope with for any team. Mercedes is no exception. However, if there is one man who can navigate the team out of this difficult situation, it's Toto Wolff. Nico Rosberg is of the opinion, as quoted by Motorsport Total, the former Mercedes world champion has worked under the leadership of the Austrian executive. The German has seen Wolff lead the team to far-fetching glory, and he believes he can do it again. It's incredibly difficult. It's an incredibly difficult situation for everyone, says Rosberg about Mercedes. And that's why it's very difficult now to accept that suddenly nothing works anymore, and that it's not getting better, but rather worse compared to the end of last year. And yes, Toto is ultimately the one who is responsible, and still is for me he is the best team manager and team boss here in Formula One. The competence is simple. I've experienced that myself, and this success in recent years is proof of that, he concluded. Having worked closely with the team for 3 incredible years, Rosberg knows the ins and outs. This is exactly why he has confidence in the boss. This is also why Rosberg confidently gave his verdict on Lewis Hamilton's contract situation. The German had a tumultuous relationship with Hamilton. The two even crashed into each other, which sparked tensions between the two and even earned them an earful from the boss. Despite the sour end to their driving partnership, the two still shared the same space as teammates and knew each other as humans. Speaking from experience, Rosberg commented on Hamilton's contract situation confidentially. "What I see is that Lewis is still very motivated, and he wants to win again. He wants to win another world title and is also working extremely hard," he says. "He's very motivated, and I don't think he's thinking about withdrawing or something like that, but now wants to get back to the front." The fourth story is Lewis Hamilton hints at W14's key problem, a specific thing I've never had before. Lewis Hamilton has dropped a clue about his struggles with Mercedes' 2023 F1 car, suggesting he is dealing with a specific thing for the first time. Hamilton looked extremely downbeat throughout most of the F1 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix weekend, culminating in finishing 5th, a place behind teammate George Russell. Compounding his problems, Hamilton has not appeared as comfortable in the W14 as Russell in the first 2 Grands Prix of the season. "We're a long way down on downforce," Hamilton said after the race, "so we've got to pick up the rear-end downforce, particularly. The more rear we gain, the more stable the rear becomes, the more confident I'll be able to attack. But I think in general, just this car, even if we do change that, there's a specific thing with something on the car that I have never had before. It's a position I've not had in previous years' cars. For me, it's the thing that is making me uncomfortable. I've just got to work hard to make sure it is changed. It's on a knife edge when you're above about 95%. But when you're in a race stint, it's much more controllable and predictable." Hamilton did not reveal the key characteristic of the car that he is unhappy about, but it is sure to be a main area of focus for Mercedes engineers as they tackle the W14's limitations. However, the overall mood coming out of Toto Wolff's team was slightly more positive in Jeddah than it was a fortnight earlier at the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix. Mercedes are promising significant upgrades in their pursuit of Red Bull and Aston Martin. In Jeddah, they already outperformed Ferrari, who are experienced issues of their own. "It is definitely strange to see the Ferrari behind us," Hamilton said. "It's positive for us. It's a different surface here, and we don't really understand why on this surface our car works one way and it's different in another. But there are lots of positives to take from this weekend. It will be up and down throughout the first 3 races. Hopefully we can get some upgrades at SAP and try to close that gap to the Aston Martins." The fifth story is Hamilton battling specific problem with Mercedes' 2023 F1 car. Lewis Hamilton claims a specific problem is undermining his attempts to get on top of Mercedes' 2023 Formula One car. Following a winless campaign last season, Hamilton was hopeful the German manufacturer would make a breakthrough to elevate him back into title contention this year. However, the 7-time world champion has endured a frustrating opening to the new campaign, with Mercedes' retained zero sidepod car concept lacking the competitiveness to challenge the dominant might of the Red Bull RB19. Having professed during the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix weekend that he was lacking confidence in the car, Hamilton admits more rear downforce would inspire an immediate upturn. But the British driver has revealed there is a distinct detail on this year's Mercedes car that is making it increasingly challenging for him to adapt. We're a long way down on downforce, Hamilton clarified. So we've got to pick up the rear end downforce particularly. The more rear we gain, the more stable the rear becomes, and the more confident I'll be able to attack. It's a position I've not had in previous years' cars. For me, it's the thing that is making me uncomfortable. I've just got to work hard to make sure it is changed. He added, while Hamilton has performed stronger on race days in 2023, the Brit has largely struggled in qualifying in comparison to his Mercedes teammate. George Russell beat Hamilton by 0.4 in Q3 in Saudi Arabia after narrowly retaining the edge over a single lap at the first weekend in Bahrain. Such a hefty deficit resulted in Hamilton conceding on Saturday night that Russell is currently able to extract more performance out of the troublesome W14 than he can. Speaking after Sunday's race, the 103-time F1 race winner has affirmed the issue arises more when he attempts to push the car on minimal fuel runs. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you soon.